film fans. Welcome to the Merco Movie Guys. I'm Clint Chaffer, and this is my buddy Chad Weeks.
And we're a couple guys who like movies and like to talk about movies. Clint, what are we going to talk about tonight?
Although we are not in our fancy tuxes, you know, from Ducky's over in Galesburg, we forgot to go over there and you know, secure some tuxes. But today we are talking about the Oscars.
Yes, we are. And my wife and I, who has watched all of the Oscars that I've watched with me, probably on our couch in the house. We're in the couch out here in the pool house now, so we're getting comfy on this one, changing it up a bit.
And we also have another guest with us, Erica. Erica, how about you introduce yourself?
Hi guys, I'm Erica.
our
they don't call her the best commentary in the business for nothing.
Well, you introduced me already. I don't have much to say besides my name. I'm Erica.
That's
I'm
true.
Chad's cousin. I'm
Yes.
Kayla's best friend, Clint.
And a local Oscar movie expert, right?
Yes.
Sure. Yeah.
And Erica, this also means that you have to come over and watch the Oscars with us that Sunday, because the second of March. Yeah.
Okay.
Awesome. So we're recording this about a week away from the Oscars, right? There'll be what, not
week
this
or
Sunday,
two,
but the following Sunday.
Yeah. Okay. There you go. Week and 2 days.
So we're actually ahead of the game here, Chad. So this is exciting. Normally,
Exactly.
like, we record these like the day after the Oscars. So
Yeah, exactly.
All right. Well, hey, let's jump right into it. We got 7 movies that are nominated for Best Picture. And I thought this would be good for us to go through each one of these films, talk about the ones that we've seen, that we haven't seen, and ultimately try landing on who we think's going to win this thing. So,
which one you want to start with? What are we starting with, Clint?
I think, you know, a good one to start with that had a lot of excitement around it this year. I think that has to be. I would love to look this up, and I should have beforehand, but it's got to be a movie that has one of the largest marketing budgets that I've ever seen, like since like maybe Avengers Endgame. I mean the marketing on this was incredible, but that is Wicked.
Yeah, for sure. And I will defer to Erica and Kayla for most of this conversation. I'll chirp in afterwards, but I know that Erica hyper fixated on this for a very, very long time. So go ahead, take it away, Erica.
I feel like I've been hyper fixating on Wicked for like 15 years, to be honest. But I'm interested actually to hear from someone's perspective that has never seen the Broadway or read the book. Like,
that's a great way to look at it. So all right, then my perspective on this one was, I think it was probably the first 45 minutes or so. I was thinking, I'm not really feeling it. Like I'm being honest. Yeah. Like, you know, to me, like I love musicals. I love Hamilton is. I mean, you know, I love Hamilton. I love La La Land. I can't tell you how many times I've watched those 2 films.
Speaking of hyperfixating.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
But no, I was about 45 minutes in before I actually really had a moment where I grabbed onto it, and that was the moment where, and then we go spoiler free on these, Erica, for the most part, where they were getting ready to do the dance, okay, and she's left out there to dance, and I can't. What is Cynthia Erivo? The way she pleaded with her eyes and showed emotion to say, like, she was literally asking, "Help me!" And she was so strong, but yet she was asking, "Help me!" in that moment, and it was all with her eyes. And at that moment, I was bought in. I got chills thinking about it again. It was just a really, really great moment, and then that set the tone for the rest of the film. The only other thing that I want to say is I know that, and this film was clearly Elphaba, Cynthia Erivo's film. It was her. It was all about her, focused on her. But I still think that Glinda and Ariana Grande,
or Linda, depending on what point in the.
Yep, correct.
Story.
I believe that she is the much more complex character in this, because there's so many levels to her personality. On the surface, she's the pick-me girl, the popular girl, the cheerleader.
Is that Ariana Grande?
Correct. Yeah.
Yeah.
But then when you
Mhm.
take a look deeper, there's a lot more there to it. Like she was portrayed as shallow at the beginning, and her character gained depth, and you can see at the end it's still there. But like, and I want to bring back when sorry, and I'll give my stand here in a minute. But like one thing Kayla said while we were watching it was if it wasn't for Elphaba, uh, Glinda could have been the Wicked Witch. So like, and it's like you're right. That's exactly right. So, but yeah,
She wanted to be in that class so bad, and it's like the only reason why she got in was because of Elphaba too. So
So,
Yeah,
Erica,
it's very. Sorry,
you,
go ahead.
sorry, yeah, I was just going to ask real quick, just because you mentioned, the book, you mentioned the Broadway play, right? I mean, there's other renditions of this outside of this movie.
Mhm.
Being a fan of this, so many times, and I've never seen, I have not watched this movie, so I can't have an opinion on this, but so many times we always hear like, the movie didn't live up to the book, or the movie didn't live up to, let's say, the Broadway play, right? What was your thoughts and kind of comparing and contrast the different versions?
Yeah. Well, I think it's important, like going into watching a movie, it's like, okay, am I watching a movie? Am I watching a musical? And my critique is going to be totally different of those, categorically. Like I'm watching Wonka and I'm not critiquing it in such a way. Do you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah, it's a different
so
style altogether. It's just so different when
yeah,
it's a
yeah,
musical versus a regular movie.
right. You're avoiding being corny and over the top in a film, and in a musical or on Broadway, it's like that's the
Everything you're
point. Like,
doing is intentionally corny and over
right, right.
dramatic, and yeah,
Yeah. So I feel like, to me, the music, it comes first and foremost. So obviously the score is amazing. They improved upon, the Broadway musical. The most famous would be Idina Menzel and Kristen Chenoweth as Elphaba and Galinda. So that like sets the bar. I think that Cynthia and Ariana absolutely met or exceeded
they
that
killed
bar.
it.
Yeah.
They put
So
their
the
own
music
twist
was
on
top
it.
notch.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah. They weren't trying to recreate the Lindas or Elphabas of the past. And I think that the director also wasn't trying to recreate the tone of the play or of the book.
Hmm.
It was just something that was altogether like its own fantastical, magical place, which
yeah,
most of the sets were actually built. Like a lot of it wasn't actually CGI. So that's insane to me. And I can only imagine, like, the emotional, like I was emotional the whole time because I knew from the first scene when the Munchkins are celebrating the death of the Wicked Witch, like I know how it like it ends. I know how this started. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I
yep.
know the backstory. So I'm like, oh geez, like you could just, you know, feel like Galinta getting ready to be like, okay, yeah, like you think she's this wicked person, but like she has a story too. She made choices, like, and maybe she looks wicked, but like maybe you should actually take a deeper look. Um, so yeah, I knew from that moment. So it's like extremely emotional, and then it just continues to build and build and build. And I think the like sweetest surprise for me was Jeff Goldblum though as Oz.
I
Like
love him as that character. Like
just
he just plays
absolutely
that
like
role
spot on,
so well in
spot
everything.
on.
He's another one of those actors that I swear he's just getting better with time.
Oh my god,
So it's
yes.
like every role that he has, I just enjoy.
it's all in his delivery, right?
Mhm.
It's the pregnant pauses and like the way he
Mhm.
stops and like his delivery. It's so charming that you just eat it up every time he's around.
Like
So
But I
Christopher
so
also just feel
Walken.
like he has this like, I don't know. I just felt like you didn't know what like the time of this movie was. You know what I mean? Like it felt new and it felt modern, but it also felt like in a different
Future
place
or
or
like past, yeah.
past. Yeah, like, and I just feel like he fits that perfectly, like, which is like the definition of Oz. But obviously, this is just the first part of the story. So if you would go to see this on Broadway, this would be like, okay, you saw the first act intermission, and now
Yeah,
the
Is there a
second
follow up
one.
then? Is there going to be a
Yeah,
sequel to this?
Part 2,
Okay. I
yes.
didn't realize that it was a two-parter.
yeah. So really, they really stopped the first movie like at the absolute like precipice of like building of tensions. Like, okay, they've decided to go their separate ways. What's going to happen? And like, what's going to happen with them rounding up the animals and not allowing them to have voices anymore? Like, so yeah, I'm just giving away spoilers now.
Yeah. So a couple things that I want to ask. Two questions based, like, again, from somebody that hasn't seen the live. So in the play form, like, or in the musical, whatever, the live version, this is a few points and then I'll let you girls talk, but the animals, were the animals like as big of a part of it as they were in this? Did they how did they handle that, which we found out that the fox was Peter Dinklage, which was pretty cool. Like it's like I know that voice.
Yeah.
And also, did they still talk in that Dr. Seussian voice, like with everything, or not? The way the words they use, they were very Dr. Seussian, and I can't think of any.
Like use like Mystique Ewell or like stuff like that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how comparative was it from the play to the actual movie? Like what was different and what wasn't?
Overarching storyline remained the same. I will agree with you that the Broadway production doesn't feel as drug out as the first portion of the film. But I don't mind it because with more time and more space, like the choreography and the dance scenes in John M. Chu's version, like totally worth the extra time to me, especially if you're trying to drag this out and make it 2 movies, which you might as well do if you have everybody's attention and it's the zeitgeist, so it's like, okay, let's go ahead and do this. But yeah, for the most part, I would say that it's very true to the story, and the animals will become kind of a larger piece. So it's kind of
And
it's
see,
kind
I
of,
don't
and so
remember
that's
that
why I'm
from
interested.
play. I don't remember the animals at all.
Yeah, so it's
Maybe seeing cats traumatized me from I just block out all animals on Broadway now.
yeah, so the story is actually very like what would you say, like maybe something that could be likened to like a World War II kind of prologue, or kind of, I'm going to tell the Wizard of Oz in such a way that it, could relate to a specific time in history and reflect like events that have happened in the past. And so it's like, okay, this person looks like the bad guy, but are they, different themes and such. So
they did stress the history repeats itself thing and looking at like the hieroglyphics on the wall and stuff. So there was a lot of that.
I'd have two things. One's just a comment and one's a question, but it seems like everything that I've heard about this film, like, we talked about the cast, and it just sounds like this is just one of those movies that they just nailed it spot on casting. And that's always incredibly exciting to me. And that always like ratchets up a movie's value to me when it's like you watch it and it's like everybody that was in every role was the perfect role, because that just happens so little, right?
Well, like, so for example, for me, and I have nothing to base it off of, but for these gals, like you're talking about Idina Menzel, in that voice, in that charisma, and that type of, like, you're going to compare it to that and have because she's incredible. I mean, she's like the play goddess. Yes, that's exactly right. Like she's it. So to
Yeah.
hear that, and then like comparatively speaking, that's incredible to me in itself.
So
Right.
my other question that I was going to ask around this is going back to like the original Wizard of Oz, which I seen, it's been many moons ago since I've watched that movie. But knowing, or now that you've watched Wicked in any format or read it, right? Either way, does it change the way that you watch that movie now? Like, does it change
Oh yeah,
like it
for
would
sure.
change like the whole thing, right?
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, there's two sides to every story, and this is the other side. So
Yeah. I just find that
It very
fascinating.
much. It also reminds me, has like motifs, I feel like, of Star Wars, where it's like light and dark, but one cannot exist without the
Yeah.
other. Like Elphaba cannot.
they
She
created
wouldn't.
each other.
Right. She wouldn't be who she is if she didn't have Galinda to kind of push her, whether it's like competing for, attention of professors, or this love interest, or, just it's a push and pull, and ultimately they're drawn together, but they represent two totally different things. Like, yeah,
Sugar
so
and
it's
spice.
interesting. Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Are-
and I didn't even realize. So like watching Wizard of Oz, like I didn't even make the connection until Kayla nonchalantly mentioned it afterwards. But like
East and West.
East and West, Elphaba's sister is also in this, and it's like, oh my god, that's why, like, and we know what happens in Wizard of Oz. You know what I mean? Like we know what the first scene in Wizard of Oz is to the Wicked Witch of the East, and so it's like, oh my god. So there's that whole level that's going to be on part 2, and
When's
again,
this coming
Yeah,
out?
just wait.
Two coming out. Do
Just
they have
wait.
a date
You'll see.
for that at all?
I think it's a couple of years, I want to say. A year maybe. I think that they've already filmed everything though.
if they've already filmed it, then
Well,
A year maybe.
Yeah. Most
Yeah,
of the time, like that's been. I think it was the Matrix Part 2 and 3 is when they first started doing like back-to-back filming, right? Like you're just gonna just go ahead and film the entire 2 movie set, right, and then break it into 2 different movies. And I think a lot of these these types of movies are starting to follow that if they can get budget and everything else.
Well, yeah,
Squared
they
away.
built Munchkin Land, so it's
Yeah.
like you might as well
Just well use it, right?
use it for 5 years. I would.
All right, so I have we're gonna jump to the next movie here, but before we jump to the next one, for everybody that's watched it, I think that's everybody besides me. Let's get a quick rating. So on a scale of 1 to 10, what are we rating Wicked?
I'll go. I'll let Kayla go first because she looked like she was getting ready to grab the mic. So
1 to 10.
1 to 10.
Yep,
Yeah.
1 to 10.
I'd do a 8.9.
All right, it's
I want to
incredible.
do 9, but you know what? I'm going to do 9 out of 10. Also,
It's an even 9.
speaking-
It's a
yeah,
rookie
I'm gonna
number,
go
but
even 9, whatever. And then this actually got 10 awards. 10
I did see that.
nominations.
Yeah, 10 nominations. So
I'll go.
Go ahead,
So-
Erica.
Should I preface? I mean, it's a 10 to me, like it for my lore. You know what I'm
Yep.
saying? But looking at it from the movies that I've watched, putting it in like a rating scale of like best picture, I would give it, in comparison to the other films, I would say it's a 7.2.
7.2
Interesting.
is what you're going to give this
Interesting.
one, comparatively speaking to the other film. All right. I
Yeah,
like that.
yeah. Because like I said, it's so hard because at the end of the day, like being a musical is a limiting factor. It just is, because
But I would have gave
I
La La
think-
Land
I
a
think-
9. Like, I would
right.
give it
But
that.
also
You know what I mean?
La La Land is more realistic. When it's a fantasy based
It's
musical,
It's
I
beautiful.
just think that it's really hard to capture. I think it was great. Like, it was comedic. Like it's not just supposed to be a highly emotional picture, obviously. But I just think, yeah, up against
All
the
right.
others.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it
Chad?
I'm gonna give it an 8.1 because I felt like that was my gut instinct. And if I look at it, if it didn't drag, if that first 45 minutes I wasn't thinking this is cliche and this is something that I've seen a million times, and it's like mismorable. It's like, oh well, she's not good. You know what I mean? Like all the it just seems so obvious to me at the beginning, and you already know that from watching the Wizard of Oz that the Wizard of Oz isn't like a great person. All this stuff, it was just dragging for me for the first 45 minutes. So if it was, and again, if it wasn't for Cynthia Erivo's eyes in that one moment, I don't know if I ever would have got there. But after that, it skyrocketed and took off. It probably would have been 8.7 for me if it wasn't for that first 45. So 8.1.
All
That's
right.
my answer.
So we got a 7.2, an 8.1, and a 9. So
Yeah.
hey, regardless, I
range.
mean, this is in a good movie spot. So
Oh, absolutely, it's a must see
Yeah.
for sure, Clint. You got to watch it.
All
Like
right.
it's a lot.
No,
of fun.
it's on my list, and
Yeah.
I'd have I apologize. I have been absolutely terrible at watching movies over the last like 8 months. So
You said it. You said it, not me.
yeah, I know. No, I'll admit. So accountability. All
All right,
right.
what's
Hey,
next?
going to the next movie. This is one that is high on my list to want to watch. By the way, this has been. I was actually hoping to get to the theater to watch this one. It is the second movie that Timothy Chalamet is in, but on this list. But A Complete Unknown, the biopic about Bob Dylan. And I will just start by saying I am a sucker for music biopics. Like give me Queen, give me Walk the Line, like, or Bohemian Rhapsody, I should say. Walk the Line, like give me all those, right? I enjoy all those types of films. So for those of you that have seen this, I am eagerly waiting to hear what y'all think.
That's a great question. Have any of us seen this movie?
Guys, I haven't seen it yet. I'm saving it because I have watched everything else Timothy
Yeah.
Chalamet. So
Chalamet.
I just Chalamet. I don't want to. I'm saving it because I'm gonna need it. But
Yeah.
it looks
No.
amazing. I watched his performance on SNL, and I mean, seems true to the like
Yeah.
sounded like a whiny kind of white boy. I don't know.
That's
Yeah.
actually, that comment is actually where my head is where I'm just very interested to see how he portrays Bob Dylan, right? Because it's all like that's always like the hardest part is, can you get to the believability aspect? Joaquin Phoenix, not a huge fan of his, but he matched, like he did amazing at Johnny Cash. Like he did
But you
I-
hate him for that
no,
role.
I hate him for other reasons about that role, but his overall acting aspect of it was very well. And the same thing with I can't remember his name now, that played Queen, played Freddie
Yeah.
Mercury.
Yeah. If you wouldn't ask me, I would have told you.
But anyway, like if you find that person that just embodies the
Rami Malek. Thank you, Erica.
Yes, there you go.
Rami.
Yeah, you gave Rafi. It's good enough. Rami Malek.
did phenomenal though, right? Like you're in the middle of the movie and you believe that you're watching Freddie Mercury, right?
Yeah. Taron Egerton as
Elton John.
Elton John.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Love
that was
him.
another great biopic. And so that's probably what has my attention on this one, is like, in the middle of that movie, am I going to forget that it's Timothy Chalamet and I'm going to start thinking that it's Bob Dylan? Because if that's the case, this movie's got to be incredible.
Yeah. And I can't tell you anything about it, but I can echo that thought because I haven't seen it either. There was a lot of movies coming out at that time and I didn't prioritize it. Here's the problem though. All those movies I'm in on, but I don't feel like any of them have blown me away. Like I loved the Bohemian Rhapsody one, but like to me it wasn't on the level of like Walk the Line, really.
Yeah.
I don't feel like they took enough risks in Bohemian Rhapsody. I don't feel like they went enough in on it to really capture what Freddie Mercury was. And I haven't. I don't know. I am cautiously optimistic. I'm sure it's going to be good. I think that he's an easy voice to recreate, or not easy, but you know what I mean. That whiny white boy,
Yeah.
like
That's
you said.
what, yeah, that's what's going to be interesting to me is listening to someone do this the entire time. Like that's really what the cadence of his voice and kind of it's very interesting. So it could tip to the line of being, I don't know.
And
I'm interested to see.
I'll probably make like Bob Dylan fans mad, but like let's not act like Bob Dylan's got like some amazing pipes on him either, right? I mean,
No,
he's
No,
like
that's
a
kind of
he's
the
like
point.
a
Yeah,
folk
Dylan fans
singer,
went on with
right?
that.
So I mean,
yeah.
it's not like he's got like this amazing vocal set. So but yeah, his
But his
cadence is
speaking voice is very interesting. Like
yeah.
it's very different. So
I do have a note on this, which does say that he had extensive preparation and he immersed himself in Dylan's music and his history. So, which that's always fun too. You know, I mean, Timothy Chalamet's young in his career. You know, you have somebody that spends that kind of time. You know, I always go back to like the legend, in my opinion, is always Daniel Day-Lewis, right? Of like immersing themselves into a role and making it their life for the 2 years that they're shooting or whatever, right? But it's just incredible to see like if he can continue to build off of this, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
But
fully
also,
obsessed with him, and I think that he's incredible. Like you just said,
Yeah.
going from okay, he's in a biopic about Bob Dylan. He's in Dune 2, Lisan Al Gaib. He's Willy Wonka. Like he A Beautiful Boy. Is that Call Me by
Yes.
Your like
Ah,
he has portrayed so
yeah.
the most vast variety of characters and like bang 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 bang
Beautiful
bang.
Boy
Like
just gave me chills. That is such. I
oh,
watched
it's
that
so
twice,
good.
and that is that's Steve Carell, right? And that,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a based off a true story too. I always say like if you want
so
to
good.
like be paranoid as a parent, go watch that movie because oh my gosh, is that heartbreaking? But well, hey, since none of
hold
us
on.
have watched,
Before you move off that one, this immersive acting can go one of two ways, because you can also have the what's his name
Jared
from
Leto,
Jared Leto, where
yeah,
he's
yeah,
filming Morbius and they have to carry him to the bathroom because he
yeah,
can't.
no,
He's Anyway,
And
I
that's
don't know
what
how
I
Jared Leto keeps getting cast. Like at some
he's
point in time,
Skeletor.
let's pull the plug. Let's say that Jared Leto is we're done with Jared Leto movies. And I seen that I think he's going to be in some. I seen him announced
Skeletor.
on something else. What was
He's
it?
gonna be
yes.
he's gonna be Skeletor
Yeah.
in the
So
new
we're gonna
Masters
have
of
to
the
deal
Universe.
with more terrible acting from Jared Leto. So
Yeah.
And I did hear like Timothy Chalamet say, very much like a Daniel Day-Lewis process,
yep.
but not in method, but in like preparation
Yeah.
and like the serious attention
Yep.
to the character. But
So
Yeah. Yeah, I
I
don't
don't
know
know
if
if he's
going to the
really
full
method.
Daniel Day method acting, is the right path because I've heard some crazy stories there too. Like, yeah, like I think he was like you had to call him Abe Lincoln, basically the entire time, yeah, like he just wouldn't leave character.
So another film, and I'm going to break off this a little bit, but another film that method acting, A Real Pain, which is, I think Kieran Culkin is nominated for supporting actor on this one. So I listened to an interview with Jesse Eisenberg, and Jesse Eisenberg said that Kieran Culkin was basically sleeping on his friend's floor and like getting no sleep and that sort of thing to try and like he was doing the method acting, but he wasn't telling everybody he was doing method acting. Like, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like it was one of those things, like he was kind of doing it behind the scenes. And Jesse Eisenberg said that it was just incredible. That's what he was doing this whole time.
Not reading the script.
Yeah, not reading the script because he wanted to kind of wing it a little bit and all that stuff. He was trying to play that role, but he wasn't broadcasting it, And
Yeah.
you've got to have respect for somebody that does something like that. I'm going to do that method acting. I'm not going to tell everybody I'm doing method
You're putting
acting.
in the work, but you're not telling anybody, right? So
Exactly.
Well, that actually feels more real because
Yeah.
absolutely.
that it actually kind of just takes the method out of it, and you're just actually immersed in
Yep.
Yeah.
that.
All right, I'll let you move on, Clint.
No, so we just keep on with Timothée Chalamet. So we talked about Dune 2 and his incredible portrayal of Paul Atreides. I thought he was fantastic in this role. I've been a huge fan of the Dune series here. Part 1 was incredible. Part 2 was absolutely incredible. I'm loving that it got a nod. Not all the time do we get like big blockbuster movies getting a Best Picture nod. So this kind of feels like maybe out of the box a little bit for what we're used to seeing. So I've seen this, and I always like to compare and contrast like the original Dune back in the day, and there's just no comparison in my opinion. Like these new movies, both Part 1 and Part 2 have been absolutely incredible, and they are phenomenal movies. They're well shot. The casting is amazing. I just don't have anything bad. These things are amazing.
Well, but this is what cinema should be, right?
Yeah,
this is what it should be. Like, this is like up there with Top Gun Maverick. This is big. Absolutely. It's bold. It's beautiful. It's thrilling. It's all that stuff. It is what you want to go to the theaters to see. Watch on the biggest screen you possibly can, type of thing. It's cinema at its finest, and that's exactly what it is. So I totally agree.
Yeah, I agree. Everything's huge. It's amazing. The landscapes, the color choices, just like the sound, the tone, everything is absolutely perfect. It's building. What's going to happen? I don't know, but I just want to see more Paul Atreides.
Yeah. You
said I believe.
Yeah, you talked about the colors or the visuals or something to that effect. At one point, like, I know they said that it was a black sun when they were on is it Hurricane? Something like that.
Iraq. Wait.
Yeah. Not Arrakis. It was
the
on
Harkonnen.
There it is. Harkonnen. So when they're there, and it's like, I thought that they just switched randomly to like a black and white screen or color choice, but it's because of the black sun, and it threw me off. I'm like, what are we doing here? But then you see that you can still see color inside the building. It's like, oh, I get it now. The black sun. Yeah. So go ahead.
My biggest complaint with Dune in general is it is an incredibly deep story, and there is a lot of stuff that is going on in Dune, and this is going to be one that the folks that have read the books will say that you can't cram everything into a movie, right, to even explain this. And there's like, what happened before Dune and all of that, right? And it's just that's probably my biggest complaint is it is really hard to get your head wrapped around everything, because there's about 15 different stories that are happening, and they're all intertwined. And like, at some point in time, you're taking a pause, and it's like, I need to rewatch the last 25 minutes because I feel like I just missed some key plot piece that I'm going to be like scratching my head, over the next hour.
It's like Game of Thrones, where you almost need like a map of like everybody and what they're doing.
Then a Jesuit. Who are they?
Yeah. It's like, what are they doing?
The crazy mother lady.
Okay, yeah. And like you said, we did have to stop at some point because you were like, "What? Wait, what? Why was that?" And I was like, "Did you miss that whole part?" And we did watch a recap before we watched this one, so definitely recommend doing that.
One of the funny things though, like my uncle is huge on Dune, has watched or has read every book and everything else, and him and I were talking about like the movies and whatnot, and I felt embarrassed because like I felt like I knew what was going on, and I'm like talking about the movie, and then he's like, well, that's not really how it is. And then he starts walking me all through, and I'm like, I don't even know how I would have picked that up in the movie. Like, I don't even know like how I would have got to that point without having some other or additional context. I do think that part 1, part 2 has done a good job of bringing the entire audience along. I will say the first Dune absolutely did not. I was lost throughout that. I enjoyed it, but I was pretty much lost.
Yeah. So like, in this one, like, it's honestly, to me, it's like, am I just not smart enough to figure out this movie? Because like, so I watched it, and then I had a ton of questions like, wait a minute, you look back. So then I watched it again, and if I had a question, I just Googled it. Like
Yeah.
So like when we're talking about all of a sudden it's like the Fremen we go from the Fremen to the Verdaiken, and it's like, so who are the Verdaiken? Because we were like, they're just Fremen, right? And they're like, and then it's like, oh, that's the special forces for them, basically.
The warriors, like fighters.
See, she only watched it once. She got it. So clearly, I'm just not intelligent enough to pick this up.
Again, there's just so much going on. It is hard to keep everything straight. But again, I would not ding the movie for that. That's just, I think that there's some movies that you just maybe need to watch more than once, right? To pick things up. And this is one of those series. I feel like you could probably watch these films 3 or 4 times, and you're going to pick something new up that you did not understand in the first 3 times of watching it.
Long, so it's you're going to pick something up.
Yeah.
Well, like Kayla said, Game of Thrones. I don't know how many times I've watched Game of Thrones all the way through. Like, but every time it's like, oh, that's who that is that they brought in season 7 for a 50. It's like, oh, I'm supposed to remember this cameo from here, and it's like
from season 2, and you're supposed to remember this guy from
Also, I don't know if anybody else experiences this, but like the darker the movie is, like, if there's a lot of blacks and darks, it's like the less I can hear of it. Like for some reason, like it's dark, I can't hear. Like so, I feel like Dune can get like that. It's like definitely a subtitles on type of movie. Otherwise, you're gonna miss
subtitle all the time.
Dude, subtitles on every movie anymore. But hey, that's actually a good switching point. We're gonna go to the next film here, and one that is almost entirely in subtitles. Also one that has 13 nods. And I think the first non-English Best Picture nod as well, and that is Emilia Perez. What was that?
Not true.
Roma.
Not true. Well, Roma won it, and also.
It's the no. I'm sorry. It's the most nominations by a non-English language film. So sorry, I misspoke.
Parasite won Best Picture. Didn't
that's right. Yeah. But so it's the most nods for a non-English English speaking film. So
yep. And I want to start this one off by saying I'm not lazy this year, because I will watch like this film, The Brutalist, and A Complete Unknown before the Oscars, but I have not seen this one either, and I feel terrible, but like I just couldn't. I didn't have time for it. It was a last second thing, so I did not get to see this one.
Kayla, Erica, have you guys watched it at all?
Are you guys talking about Emilia Perez?
Yeah.
Emilia Perez? No, I haven't seen it yet.
Okay. Yeah, so
I also need to work with the bandwidth to watch something 100% fully in subtitles. It's just,
it's a lot of focus.
It is. Yeah, it's like I can't look away because I don't want to miss anything. So it's just a fully immersive experience.
So I just watched this over the last day. I ended up watching this entire movie, and it is one of those when you have to watch a movie in subtitles, you don't just like get up to go refill your drink because you can't understand anything, right? At least I can't because I don't speak Spanish.
Nobody can do that though anyway. Like that's the thing that I've learned is like I get up to fill up my drink or go grab something real quick, and it's like I'll just listen for this 3 minutes, and then I just come back and I have to rewind.
Oh yeah, no, 100%.
Nobody can actually do it.
I do the exact same thing. I still have to rewind because
women can. He can't, and then he pretends every time like he's gonna be able to master it and won't just pause the movie and will let it play, and then always rewinds 10 minutes too far backwards.
There you go.
Anyway, moving along.
Yeah, no, moving along. I would say, this is a very interesting film, to say the least. I knew nothing going into this film, so I didn't know the plot lines. I didn't know anything. First off, I would state I did not realize it was going to be a musical. So they do a lot of singing and some choreography that's mixed in on this like very heavy plot line. So it was kind of surprising that they kind of mixed in like more of like more song and dance. I think it's very
real singing though? Is it singing or sing talking?
Yes, a little bit of both.
Okay.
So
I didn't know Selena Gomez was in this.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, and but I think it's hard for me. Like I didn't have any of those. Like I watch a lot of like Hindi films, right? Like Bollywood films, and even though they're singing in like something that language, they're singing in Hindi, and I can't understand it. It's fun, it's catchy, and things of that nature. I probably struggled with this film that I just didn't connect with any of the songs. Like they didn't, because I think, Erica, to your point, it was kind of like not really a song, but some singing, but it was kind of talking and more musical. And so like it was a weird mix for me on the music side. I almost like I would have enjoyed it more without it. Like I don't
Yeah.
think it added anything to the film for me.
Quick recommendation for RRR.
Oh yeah,
Because
I've seen
I
RR.
think the music in that one is phenomenal. The action is incredible. Kumaro Beam and Natu Natu Natu. Like honestly, Erica, you should watch that with the whole family, and it is awesome. It is so good. But anyway,
But but
go ahead,
really
John.
the basis of this movie is quite unique as well. It's about a cartel drug lord that basically is wanting to have gender reassignment surgery, is kind of how this whole thing starts off, right? And it's just and then it's just the whole story is like about her trying to somewhat live her life, but kind of running into all the things that had happened prior to this, right? So it was kind of like, it's almost like a story of like two worlds colliding. And they even had like one musical number where, which I thought she did a really good job of almost describing that, right? Of like, I'm in and I'm out and I'm happy and I'm sad, and like all these like contrasting emotions and feelings. And I almost feel like almost the whole movie was really two worlds colliding and trying to live almost two different lives, right? So it was kind of like that that whole piece. But it was well shot. There was some spots that I would say I'm surprised that it probably picked up 13 nods. It felt to
Clint,
me like it was more like a independent passion project, right?
Clint,
As
was this a
opposed
good
to like,
movie?
what was that?
Was this a good movie?
It's definitely not a movie I would ever watch again. No.
I will
Like,
say that Selena Gomez got like torn to shreds for her Spanish accent in this movie. Like people were
Like
not there. She that it wasn't. She didn't sound like an authentic Spanish, like a native Spanish speaker, and you could, if you are one, you could tell. So it
She is though, isn't
it
she?
didn't feel authentic. I mean, I think that she probably, knew some Spanish, but isn't a daily Spanish speaker.
Yeah.
So had to,
Zoe
yeah.
Saldana isn't either, right?
I think she might be, but I'm
I,
not sure.
she sounded like I mean, she actually did like an incredible job. So
She's the one that I'm so like from my perspective, like this is the one movie that I don't want to watch so bad. Like I don't want to watch it. And so that's why when you said that you were going to watch it and it was I'm like I'm not going to tell you anything about it. Like what I've heard because it just doesn't sound appealing to me whatsoever.
yeah.
Girl in the chair moment. Zoe Saldana is Dominican, and she was.
Oh, she actually says that in the movie. She says
bilingual,
she's
yeah.
from the Dominican Republic.
Yeah, she like lived there in the Dominican.
Yeah.
So.
And she's one of the people that like her speech that she gave at the whatever is before the Oscars that anyway, it doesn't matter. But her the Golden Globes. What she spoke at the Golden Globes, like truly heartfelt, and I love her. She's great, and she deserves all the best things. So
Yeah.
I hope she does well. I just really just don't want to watch this. I'm going to, but I don't want to.
I will say, Chad, like I would go into it like, especially like look at the cinematography. Like I thought they did like some really cool cinematography aspects. There was one time, this was another cool one. There was 3 screens, kind of like what we're seeing here, right? And she's in the middle on the phone, and she's talking to 2 different people in at two different times, right? But they made this really cool aspect to where whenever she was talking to the person on the right, the phone is on the right side of the ear. And then when she goes to talk to the left, it's on the left side of the ear. And you can tell it's all one cut, but it's like two conversations at two different times that are happening. And I thought that was one of those times where I'm watching and I'm like, this is actually a really creative way to have like multiple conversations all at once. So there is some cool cinema tricks that they did within this movie that I could definitely appreciate. So
this was nominated, but Greta Gerwig wasn't. So sorry, I'm still salty about the Barbie stuff.
Barbie, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, we're gonna move on to the next. This is another one.
Rate it.
I mean, if I'm gonna rate it on my own, and this is just like for me personally, I'm not gonna go. But I mean, it's got to be like a 5.8, right? Like I'm just not gonna go back and watch this. All right, going into the next one. This is one that I'm also incredibly excited for and is high on my list, even though Chad's going to give me some crap on this one. But The Brutalist. The Brutalist looks absolutely incredible. So Erica, I think you've seen it. So
Erica, I think is the only person that's seen it because she asked me which one to watch next, and I said watch Brutalist.
Yeah, and you haven't seen it.
I haven't seen it, but I wanted you to see it because I need somebody to have seen
it. So
it.
classic.
Yeah. All right. Let's talk about it.
Subject me to
classic Chad.
I'll be the guinea pig. I actually just finished that like right before this, and it was like, with the intermission included, which it put that in the film. It was like 3 hours 55 minutes or something like that.
And we appreciate you for it.
Yeah. I watched it on 1.25 speed, which didn't take away.
It's like it's a podcast.
If it would have taken away from anything, or I wouldn't have done that, but it didn't. Yeah. It was long. It was super long. Like Chad said about Wicked, same critique about like the first 25 minutes of this film. Chop them off. I didn't need to see it. Besides that, though, it's worth a watch. It's interesting. It is an interesting theme to me.
What's a basic plot?
The basic plot is 1940s 1950 post World War II, immigrants coming to America after being in concentration camps, families being split apart. So Adrian Brody's character is, kind of the man, the father of the house, going and trying to find opportunities. He's a well-renowned architect, and it's just kind of him starting over, and showing, kind of his flawed journey. Yeah, and it's. I think that it could have been a lot shorter. I wish one of you would have seen it, because it's just there's some scenes where it's like you can definitely. Personally, I was like, okay, one character spoke a line to Adrian Brody, and I was like, this is either going to go this way or this way. It triggered something, and then it's repeated again, and it's like, yeah, there's something definitely that's going to be related to this down the road. But I would be interested to see if you guys would pick up on those things. But it went to a place for me where, like I said, I could see that theme kind of building, because it's like it's a movie kind of about nothing. There's a plot, like, he's an architect, he's starting over, he's commissioned to do a build, and it's the story of that in a nutshell. But it's like, why? What is the premise of all of like the other stuff going on, and what's it kind of alluding to? And it's just things keep kind of recurring, and you're like, okay, this is definitely about more than an immigrant story. It's
Yeah.
the kind of fallout from having your. To me, I think it's kind of a reflection on what's the word? Not the patriarchy, but the opposite of like feminism, like
Masculinity.
I was thinking masochism. I could not get masochist out of my head. Like, yeah, it's like kind of to me, it's definitely about masculinity. Kind of finding that.
Was
after
this
you
guy in a concentration camp then?
Yes.
Okay, so I
Yeah.
mean, yeah. So there's got to be like I would assume like a whole journey there of like, you got to relearn how to live again, right? I mean, after you've been in something that atrocious, right? I do find it interesting that Adrian Brody, his last, Oscar that he had was The Pianist, which was also about World War II and concentration camps and whatnot. So,
Yeah, they very
two-time Holocaust survivor.
yeah.
Yeah.
That's what Nikki Glazer called him, that the two-time Holocaust survivor.
And that's kind of, to me, it's like I don't ever. I'm interested. Like I'm, in the subject matter. But to me, it's like having a fresh take on it.
Yep.
And I think that this was that. But you can tell when they're trying to like win an Oscar and not just like trying to tell a good story. And that's what this is for me.
It's like
that line right there. This was an Oscar-grabbing film, is what I'm feeling.
Yeah. It was like a safe subject matter with like just enough of a twist on something where it's like, oh man, like this is huge. This is really something. Like his performance was amazing, and to me, it's like he's already got the face. Like he doesn't have to learn how to, so it's like that's half of the interpretation to make it feel authentic. And then, he learns the Eastern European accent, and it's like, okay, yeah, it's acted well enough. But I will say the huge critique of this movie and why it got canceled was because it has a lot of AI.
Oh, I gotcha.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're going to see a lot of that though in the future. That's going to be the new standard, not the. So unfortunately.
So my chime in on this one is our friend of the show, Noah Lauk, gave this one 4.5 stars. So that's pretty. And he's pretty. And he's pretty. 5 stars. Out of 5.
Oh, okay. 4.5.
Oh, wow.
That's good.
Okay. On Letterboxd. Yeah. And he's very critical. So, that's pretty impressive. So yeah, sorry, I should have cleared. Yeah, thank you for that. So that's really, really good. I'm going to watch it, but again, this is one that I'm not terribly interested in because I feel like it's another recycled story, and you telling me that it's something new, it puts me back on board a little bit to watch this one. So I'll watch it so that we can talk about it for Oscar night. So
the story about his face real quick, because Erica mentioned his face. He was on a late night show and talked about he had prosthetics for a different character, and he had a makeup artist that wasn't normally on his team, and they were trying to take off like all the prosthetics, and she kept going at his nose, and finally he had to ask her, like, are you trying to take that off, because that's my nose.
Oh my gosh.
That's like when Oprah tried to wipe off Drew Brees's birthmark underneath his eye, and she's like, here, let me get that, and he's like, nope, that's kind of there.
Erica, go ahead, Clint. Sorry,
I was just going to say. No, just one other thing on this, and Erica hit on it, and I just thought this was like a fun fact because I would love to see this brought back, by the way, and so I'd like to get your feedback on this. The intermission. I feel like if you get a movie over 3 hours, like give me just like a few minutes to go get rid of some Diet Pepsi or whatever, right? Like I just feel like we get into some of these long films and you're sitting in a movie theater and I'm like, I want the intermission to come back. So what was your whole thought process like when you get like a intermission in this movie?
I was like, nothing's happened yet. What are we taking a break from? Get on with it. Like, Wrap it up.
Maybe a bad example.
It does take off more. It really does take off more in the second part, and I don't want to give too much away. And after
Erica,
you guys watch it, this will sound cliche, but it's worse.
Erica, tell me
ride to get to the end.
Tell me about SNL and Adrian Brody and him being canceled.
Oh, yeah. So he.
I think this is the best part of
the host.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the host of Saturday Night Live. I mean, this was 2008.
Yeah.
I want to say.
Yeah, this was. Erica described this as her Roman Empire question because she thinks about it all the time of Adrian Brody coming out there. He did like a Jamaican accent, right? He just comes out and does his whole opening. Sorry, go ahead.
No, yeah. So it's like SNL monologue. You know, you obviously have dress rehearsals or whatever, like walkthroughs. He does his walkthrough, and then he comes out on stage, night of live, and has like a, like the Rasta hat with like the fake long dreads and a wife beater, and I want to say it was like 42 seconds of him just like, oh man, the Rasta, like just like I don't know. That's what it was, and he's never allowed to be back on Saturday Night Live ever again.
It makes
Lorne
you
Michaels
wonder.
Was probably.
I would love to know like the backstory of that. So like one of two things either happened on this. Either A,
were made.
Well, either A, like he just has a wild hair up his rear end and he decides to throw this on and like he thinks it's going to be funny and he goes out there and does that. Or the other possibility, right, is like, did somebody plant this seed of like, oh, hey, like maybe even as a joke, and they're like, hey, you know what would be funny is if you did this, and it's like, and then he just took it and ran with it, right? I would just love to know the backstory on that because that sounds like it's out of like left field. So
I have no idea, but it's one of those times where it's like you're standing on stage alone, and we always watch Saturday Night Live, like we've been keeping up on it for years now, and you always kind of feel the anxiety of the host, and it's like you're just up there alone, and like if you don't hit the joke and people don't laugh, like it's awkward, like it feels weird and you can feel it. And when people start going left or going off script or like talking politically, like I feel like the last time it happened was like Woody Harrelson kind of started ranting, and it's just like, oh no, it's like I can't even imagine. That was just the whole thing. He walks out and is doing that for 30 seconds, and then he's like, "We got a great show." It's like, what
did you just do?
Yeah, I just
fun fact of Saturday Night Live, and I guarantee y'all probably already know this, but I every time I hear this be told, I think it's always interesting, which is Taylor Swift, when she was on there, actually wrote her own monologue, which they said never happens. Like the writers always write the monologue for like every host, and Taylor went out there and wrote a song, her own, like no help from any writer, no nothing, just went out there and wrote, and it's like an incredible monologue, right? It's like she nailed it out of the, knocked it out of the park.
PR queen of her own narrative, never gonna let anybody else's pen define her.
Yeah, I always find that just fascinating. So
I'm really happy with Haley Steinfeld, but man, I hate the fact that the Chiefs got Taylor Swift. So anyway.
All right, hey, we're gonna move on to the next movie. We got two more. Conclave and Honora. So let's start with Conclave.
Nickel Boys nominated for Best Picture?
And you forgot The Substance, and I really wanted the.
Yeah, we got.
Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you're missing a few here.
Oh, it's not on my list.
Well, you looked at the wrong list.
We definitely haven't been through 10 movies. There's 10.
I only have 7 on my list.
Yeah. So you're missing Nickel Boys,
Honora, and The Substance,
and Conclave,
and I'm Still Here.
Oh, all right. Well, let's breeze through these. So Conclave.
Yeah. I'm Still Here isn't one of them. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Whoop. I only have 9.
Yeah. So let's talk about I'm Still Here because I haven't seen that one yet either.
I heard good things about that one.
I've heard really good things. I have not seen it though, so I think we can kind of pass on this one. I have nothing to give on that one. Let's talk about Nickel Boys then. Unless Clint, you have something else to say?
No, which one did we kind of skip over here? I'm still here.
I'm still here. Yes.
Okay.
All right. So let's talk about Nickel Boys then. Clint had one
Did
job.
you like that one?
What's that?
Did you see that one, Clint? Did you see I'm Still Here, Clint?
I did not. No, I apparently didn't even get this on the full list. So this is what happens, though. Here's the thing. You know, I asked AI to make me my list, and it left it out. I should have
Cancel him.
I should have double checked.
All right. So Nickel Boys. Has anybody else seen Nickel Boys? Clint definitely hasn't. Eric, have you seen it? No. Okay. So. Kayla, go ahead. Do you want to start off with this one? You had a lot of thoughts on it. So here's one thing that I think that
I like how you ask her if she wants to do it, and then you just continue to keep doing it.
It's because it leads into one of the things that I talk about with movies is if it gives you something to like talk about afterwards. And literally, this is one where afterwards, Kayla and I talked a lot about it. So go ahead, baby. You do your thing on it. How did you feel about Nickel Boys?
I don't remember, but you were the one that pointed out that they portrayed this movie without using the N-word that was super prevalent in that time because it's what time frame was it? Like post-segregation or right around then?
This is like during the Selma March is when this is civil rights movement. Yeah, exactly. So they're talking about Selma. They're talking about Martin Luther King Jr. They're talking about all this stuff, and this is based off of a. It's a couple friends who
based off a true story or a book?
Yes, it's based off of a true story about a book, but there's some fiction involved in it. So, fictional story about an issue that or a famous boys' home, whatever you want to call it, basically a reformery. There you go.
School.
Yeah.
School, yep. But it's like not really like a military school.
Yep. Nickel Academy is what it's called, and basically it's there to. So anyway, so this whole film is shot from a first person perspective, so which is really weird. So like when you start off, you can tell that that's where they're going to go with it. So like the only way you see the characters' faces is in the reflection of an iron as his mom's ironing his clothes.
Or like the storefront window, you know, he's watching all the TV.
Wow, it's all first person shot.
Yep.
That is incredible.
Except when he's older, which I don't want to go into too much, but I noticed that in the filming as they were doing it slightly different, and I called that out, but I'm not going to give anything away.
Did that take away from anything? Like I think, man, what was the one like? Wasn't it there one like Hardcore Henry or something like that? It was like a gun shooting one that was.
So it did take away from it because you can't like in a lot of ways because I mean it added things to it as well. But it didn't give you the opportunity to like see the acting chops of the two characters because clearly they were doing a good job, but you couldn't see those facial
switches at one point where you can see because it's first person, but it jumps between people at one point, so you do get to at some point.
I see
that it jumps from.
You'll see that individual talking because now you're in the first person of another
you switch
another
to
actor,
like his friend or whatever, and usually. Films shot in that perspective give you like kind of like a seasick or motion sickness, and I didn't think about that either, but I liked it. It didn't bother me.
And when the one person is an adult, it's I don't even know if you want to call it it would be third person, right? Because it's all shot from the back of their head, so you still can't see their face. It's all shot from the back of their head.
You didn't. It's funny. I called it out. I recognized his voice, but I don't want to tell anybody either because I think that's
it's funny you said third person because that's where my head was going because like video games, right, are either in first person or in third person, right? That's like your kind of your two options. And when you were talking about this, I literally in my head I was like, man, I wonder if a movie's ever been shot in third person before, you know, like if they've done this. And then you said like this has this, so that's hilarious.
I loved it. I didn't see the twist coming. I would recommend it. I think it ties into Wicked because the theme of it is people don't start off bad, but the way people make them out to be, it's like everybody I confront thinks that I'm already like this. So you just like F it, you get jaded, and you're like, I'm just gonna be like this. And at one point, I looked at you and I said, "This is where he's gonna get jaded." You know, he has just had too much, and you know the school is still segregated and things like that. So, but yeah, I really like it. I really recommend it.
All right,
one thing that real quick, I just want to say that, like, because this is a complete work of art is what it is. I mean, and I didn't love this film. It's not super high on my list, but like it is an absolute work of art because it, like, they are trying to do all these, like, there's tons of hidden yeah, very cool.
It was the screen itself was narrow, and I didn't know why at first until I realized that it was in first person, and so that's why, is because you're not a goat, you can't see that far. So
you gotta,
Yep. And a film like this in that time frame and all that stuff, to not use that word, it's a choice. It was deliberate, and I think that it was really kind of cool that, like, I don't know why, but I felt like it was very powerful. Like, we called it out like halfway through because, like, they're not saying that, and it's
impressive.
Yeah. So anyway,
give me a rating. What would you give it, Chad?
I'm gonna give it a 7.1.
Oh, okay. All right.
I wish you would have told me to watch this instead of The Brutalist.
But somebody had to watch The Brutalist, Erica.
Speaking of jaded, somebody is jaded over that 3 hours and 55-minute film.
It's definitely worth the watch. It's very compelling. It's a good story.
Yeah.
Erica, if it makes you feel better, this little poster behind me like has a whole bunch of movies that you're supposed to watch, and you scratch them off, right? And one of them on there is Lawrence of Arabia, from, like, I don't know, I want to say 60s or 70s, I think. And it's like a 4-hour film. Like, and I think there was like an intermission in that one as well. But yeah, I feel your pain, because after about like 2 hours of sitting there watching the same movie, it's like I'm only halfway through with this thing. Like,
yeah, it's a lot.
Even if it's a good movie, that's a lot of watching.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. The next one, The Substance.
I loved this movie so much. It was so creative and made me think so much. And then, like, kind of gets you conspiracy theory, because you're like, there's so many doppelgangers. Like, are we doing this in real life?
I agree. I thought this is if I could pick Best Picture, this would hands down, like,
nice.
walk away with the category for me. I just think that I gauge how good a movie is by how little of it I can watch. The less that I can stand to watch of it, the more that I like it, because it's evoking something in me, even if I absolutely can't, like, stand to even physically see it. So I like the specificity of body horror to me. Like, the body horror in this movie is just so insanely well done. Like, it's all purposeful. Everything has a point. And I saw one of the main critiques of this being that it wasn't subtle enough. And it's like, that's why it's amazing. You're not guessing. To me, as a woman, I wasn't like guessing. I'm like, she hates herself. Like, it's very clear that this is about self-hatred and mutilation and what we do to our bodies once we start aging. Yeah. And also kind of about how we, do things to our body in our youth, knowing we're going to have to pay for it when we get older, but our younger self doesn't care about our older self. And I think that's like a really interesting thing that, like, even men can, like, it's like, not wearing sunscreen or like doing this. It's like, my older self can pay for that. And it's like,
shout out to Danielle for saying future Danielle problems. I'll quote her.
Yeah.
This has quite the cast too. I mean, you got Demi Moore, you got Dennis Quaid. Like,
Dennis Quaid is so loathsome in here, and I love it.
He is the worst. The shrimp scene is like, for how disgusting and insane this movie is and the ending, and it's wild. Like, one of the most disgusting scenes in the entire movie is him just eating shrimp at a table, having a conversation with Demi Moore about how she's turned 50 and he's going to put her out to pasture now, as he's literally chewing something up and like spitting it out. And it's kind of a you know what I mean? Like, it's just, it's beating you over. This movie, I feel like, beats you over the head with like the tropes. Like, you don't have to guess what it means. And I thought that was really cool.
It's like it sounds like it's like a movie about aging then, and like the body changing and like how people are dealing with that. Is that kind of?
So it's an aging out actress who now it's kind of like a Jane Fonda situation, I guess, would be kind of the real life comparison. Movie actress then kind of goes into like aerobics, and she turns 50 and is let go for someone,
Yep.
younger. And she is, yeah, one way or another, she ends up in a hospital, and is told by a nurse, like, hey, the substance that saved my life, like, you should call this number. And then it goes from there, where it's a substance that can basically, it's a new, better you, but it's 7 days on, 7 days off.
You,
right?
Yeah.
You are one. So it's
You
like
are one,
7 days in your old body, your normal body, and then 7 days in the younger, better, upgraded version.
Does your body
But every-
age in between that time? So when you get back to like you, is it older?
If you follow the rules, then you're fine. But it's just like
you would just age naturally.
Yeah, and it's
But
just
if
like a
you
life
do 2
lesson,
weeks
like,
on,
you
then you double your age or something, right? I can start seeing where this goes. Where
can't cheat
if
it.
you,
Just like life, just like
Yeah.
death, you cannot cheat it. You can't skirt the rules.
Yeah,
You know?
But it's
like
so-
Erica said,
so
young you doesn't care about
incredibly-
old you.
it's like a
Yeah.
Limitless movie, but for like aging,
Oh.
right? You know, I mean, like that's what it kind of
Yeah.
reminds me of.
It's just, it's
It makes
so
you
well
think, but-
done. It's so well done.
Yep.
I could not look away.
Yep.
Like, I didn't want to stop watching, but
Yeah.
like I had to like go like that. Like, so many
Uh-huh.
times I had to like shut my eyes, like, because
Protest.
you can't stand to watch someone do that to themselves. Like,
But
it's just
so
but
desperate.
it
the
keeps going, and it's like,
desperation.
how can you keep going? How
Well,
can you keep
that's
going?
exactly
No,
what
don't
I
do
said.
that. Like,
But you're in too deep, so it's just
Right.
like it's just you know.
yeah.
Mm.
And one of the
Even
things
bad
that I
with
just kept
Oh.
finding myself asking is like, okay, it's just like, you try to put yourself in the situation. All right, what would I do at this point? What would I do? The second or third time I did that, and I did that while watching this movie, I was like, something clicked where it's like, you can't put yourself in the shoes of this person, because you wouldn't be here. Like, this person is obviously so far down this path of needing validation and hating themselves, basically,
Well,
that
but-
it's like, you wouldn't be here. Like, how can you, because you would never agree to the terms to begin with, so why are you questioning what you would do?
That-
It's just like, you have to think about it as like, yeah, you're totally no other options. You're all in, and it's the most important thing to you.
I think that goes with, though, like I've thought about this a lot, though. Like, we talk about like aging out and things of that nature. And it's interesting, like the older that I get, that you've watched actors and actresses get older, right? Just like it's like we all are, right? And it's at least Chad and I, not you young ladies, by the way.
Good save.
Chad and I. But it's like I couldn't imagine, like, there's some of these, like, and I think it's especially harder probably for actresses, right? Like, you're living in a world where your appearance is what you're making your living on. Not saying that that's it. I don't want to make it that shallow, but
Hollywood is that shallow.
That's a huge aspect of that. And it's like, I can't imagine if you were you go from the leading lady every movie, right? And then slowly you watch you don't get those opportunities anymore. And
you watch your star on the Hollywood Boulevard get cracked and
like
walk over it and still
side of her apartment is her replacement.
We'll get it. Yeah, I just couldn't get my head wrapped around that. Like I feel like I can feel that, like, through, like I said, just watching some of these folks and hearing some of those stories. But and that's what this kind of reminds me of, right? Like, to your point, it's hard to put yourself in her shoes at that point in time, because
because
at the same time, though, there are things in the movie where it's like, I've done that. Like, one of the most powerful scenes in the movie is just her at the mirror, like, going on a date with a guy that, like, she would have never gave a second glance to.
Shout out to Kale.
But she's decided she's
Kale's a hunk. Come on now.
Come on now. She's decided she's no longer worthy, basically. So, you know, she's like, okay, I'm going to go on this date. And she just continues to redo her makeup, like add more concealer here, try to make this, until she finally just, like, you know, rubs all of it in. And it's just like, yep, felt that, been there, where it's just like, I can't get to a point where it's like, yeah, I feel, you know, like, this is a reflection of how I want to look. And so it's like, yeah, there are parts of it where it's like totally relatable, but it just, the progression of it, where it's like, yeah, at some point I would have gotten off this train, but you're just fully going to ride it till the end. So
to like, this is a perfect conversation to let the women just handle this thing. But I do want to throw in my 2 cents on this, because, like, this is what Hollywood is, you know, like, where you are, like, once you're over, like, literally, I think it's 25, maybe 30, then you're just forgotten, because because, like, if you look at, like, Jennifer Lawrence, hottest thing in Hollywood for a while. The last movie I saw Jennifer Lawrence in, she was playing the 25-year-old, or what, maybe 30-year-old, and
she was supposed to be 30, but she was lying and saying she was still in her 20s.
Correct. And it was like, she's so old, and she's way too old for this, because that's what it is. And, like, even when you look at, like, we watched the latest Bad Boys movie, and Will Smith, who's like 60 years old, whoever he's dating or marries in that movie is like 20. It's like so there's that clear dynamic for that. But
where it's like, now this role is for you. This role is for this chick.
Exactly.
Like,
and so what I think is the most important part of this film is Demi Moore's nude scenes. She did, like, I've never in a film ever said that nude scenes were as important as what this one was. And I realize that sounds odd, but I don't know what her age is, but for her to do those 60s, for her to do those scenes, and it's like, this is G.I. Jane, you know, like, this young heartthrob, and now she's in her later years or whatever, and it's like, to do those scenes, and then again, it's a body horror film where a younger version of herself basically rips out of her body, and
she's 62.
62, yeah. To me, it is so important. Those are the most important nude scenes I've ever seen in a film.
I love that you picked up on that, Chad. Like,
I love it.
Because it's something that I noticed in the movie was the nudity wasn't used in a way that was for the male gaze in any way, shape, or form. It was not exploitative in any way, shape, or form. It was only used when she was in her bathroom in front of her mirror looking at herself, and it was only in moments of vulnerability.
Yes.
And it was zoom-ins on her, you know, older Demi Moore's character, Elizabeth Sparkle. It was like zoom-ins on, you know, her birthmark and, you know, her belly, her varicose veins, like, all of these different things, which it just was so poignant. And the sound of this movie is just, it's crazy. Like, you can, it's like they have it Dolby blasted, just the most crisp, like, every tiny sound is picked up on, like, feet swiping across the carpet is like much like it's very like almost ASMR. Like
Yep.
it's, and food also comes into play. You know,
Oh yeah,
a lot,
in a
all over the
terrible way.
place.
Mukbang.
Yeah,
Dennis,
but
Dennis Quaid walking down the hallway toward her, like that, like everything. It's like yeah, you're right. I never even paid attention.
yeah,
It sounded so cool.
the nudity is so poignant in this movie because it's just her alone, vulnerable, and then
Exposed.
later on we see Sue, you know, and then you see the birthmark is smaller and it's lifted and it's this and it's that, and like, but you're still viewing her as a point of like her seeing herself for the first
Correct.
time, and not in a way of like sexualization.
Yep. 99% of nude scenes can be forgotten or whatever. I feel like this was the only one. They're one of the few. I think Kathy Bates had one too. But anyway, this was necessary.
You are right though, Chad. I actually there's times where I'm like, why do we have to have a nude scene in here? Like it actually like there's a lot of times where it actually ends up just taking away from the film, and
Correct.
I don't know.
You have
all
to
right,
watch
hey,
it.
we're gonna move on to the onto the next film. We didn't talk about Conclave, did we?
No.
All right, so Conclave and then Anora. So Conclave first.
Yeah, because I liked it least out of the two.
Out of the two, yeah. So, are you and I the only ones that have seen Conclave? Have you seen Conclave, Erica?
I've not seen Conclave, Chad.
So, all right. So these next two films are.
Oh, it looks good. Religiosity.
I liked it as much as you can like a Catholic story.
I don't feel like it was a Catholic story though. I mean, it clearly was. It's about
It's about the politics of religion.
It's a political thriller basically with a lot of twists and turns that I just didn't see happening. Like so, it's
a lot of politics.
Politics, yeah.
Is it like
thriller.
politics between like cardinals and the popes and the bishops and all that kind of aspect?
You know what a conclave is?
She said so condescendingly.
Yeah, she said condescendingly.
Let me try that again. Take two. Do you guys know what a conclave is?
Nope.
I don't, Kayla.
I didn't either, but it is the electoral process. So that's what a conclave is.
Interesting.
So it's the whole voting process. It's like a lockdown voting process of electing the new pope.
Oh,
yeah.
I could tell you that I know incredibly
really condescending.
I know, like I will admit I know like little to nothing about the Catholic Church and any of its. I know that like smoke comes out of the chimney for stuff, and
well that's just yeah. So that's just it. You don't know much about it because it's one of the most secretive things about the church or about that whole
city.
Yeah, because you're not invited.
Yeah.
So what they do is they go into seclusion or whatever. So like they nobody in, nobody out, and they just do this.
Shutter the walls and the windows of the Vatican, which is its own city. I didn't know that either. I learned a lot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
So that they can be
it's actually its own country, right? Isn't it? Yeah, it's actually governed on its own, I think. So,
so that they can be unaffected by decisions and that sort of thing. The cast, everybody was so good. Ralph Fiennes, I think Fiennes was incredible, and so is the other guy that I can't think of his name. I don't. But anyway, Stanley Tucci. So fantastic. So I guess I wasn't expecting to be as in because this is a naturally easy movie to watch. It doesn't look like it, but this is like so. We talked about Conclave. Conclave isn't, or not Conclave. The Substance. The Substance isn't an easy film to watch. Nickel Boy's really tough. Most of these that we talk about have been tough. The Brutalist would be really tough, but like this.
But The Substance and The Brutalist are different. Tough watches.
I totally get it. Totally get it.
Brutalist is an Oscar tough watch.
Erica is still not over the Brutalist.
But what I'm saying is like literally this movie could be a blockbuster.
Yeah.
If it really could, because it's not what you would expect when you go into this one. It is a political thriller about the inner workings of a conclave and electing a new pope, and there are serious twists and turns.
I think I
And
would like
it's
what color of smoke goes up when they elect a new pope?
I think it's white, but I don't know.
Is it white?
They do a lot of the smoke. They do all the smoke stuff.
I always go back to like Euro Trip.
That's
remember when
literally
that's
my only.
Like, they've elected a
Your
new pope.
reference?
Oh no,
This
the
never
pope
happens this
died.
way.
Like, yeah, like
These twists. Yeah. Yeah. That's how we get our conclave information.
yeah, that's all. That's what I know right there. So I will have to say though, you mentioned that Stanley Tucci. Is that how you say his last name?
Yes.
I like that guy. Like I like
love
him in every movie. Like, and he's usually like the bad guy, right? But was he the good guy in Kingsman? Right,
The Kingsman.
he was
Yeah,
always like a good guy actually in that one.
the second
But-
Kingsman wasn't a great film, but that scene where he sings,
Is that where he runs out? Right at the
with that,
where he runs out of the timber, right? When he's
he steps on a
Yeah.
mine. He
Yeah.
shoves Taron Egerton
Yep.
off, Eggsy, and then he sings "Country Roads Take Me Home."
That's right.
So-
yeah.
It is one of the best. It is one of the most.
Really just taking me over.
Yeah, sorry. One of the best scenes in films ever. Like, just so powerful.
I like I said, I like that guy. Like he's got a
I'm leaning on you.
he probably gets typecast a lot, right? Because like he does fit a very certain character a lot of times.
His
But it's
delivery,
fun
yeah.
to see him in. Like I said, Kingsman I think is like one that like kind of stands out because he's actually a good guy and you like him, you know. But he has such a good
He's
evil
kind
tone.
of a good. He's for the most part a good guy in this movie too.
Okay.
Yeah.
Watch Conclave.
It's
I
good.
really recommend
Alright.
it.
Yeah, no, that I'll put that to the list. So all right, so that brings us to our last one is Anora.
Loved.
best
Love
for last
Nora.
question mark.
What was that?
Best for
You said
last.
best for last question mark.
Oh,
In my opinion, yes. If it,
Loved it.
to me, this should win Best Picture. I don't know.
I think it has a chance.
You think it does?
I definitely think it has a chance. I mean, from what I've seen, I would say it. I would say Anora or The Substance. And
They'll probably gonna do
Anora
something
won
dumb and
at.
give it to the Amelia Perez, but
Yeah, I don't know. I thought this movie was like pretty much perfect in every way. Like,
it's an original. It was so original. Clint, did you
Get-
watch it at all?
no, give me a 30-second elevator pitch on this. Like, what's it about?
Strippers, spoiled rich kids, and plot twists.
It's about a dancer, stripper, yes, who is
Exotic dancer.
an exotic dancer who is seduced by a billionaire, spoiled rich boy, and
a
then
Russian
they
oligarch son.
yes, yep, and then they get married, and then his father doesn't like that, so he's a mob kind of guy.
I've seen a trailer on this. This actually looked really good.
It is
very
totally,
good, and it's
it out of this list. I'm looking back. This could be the funniest movie on this list,
Yeah.
So unexpected.
but it's not a comedy at all. It is tragic.
There's
It is.
actually to me like three distinct parts of this movie.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead.
Like-
Let's hear about those three parts.
There's like, well, first of all, it starts with the intro is iconic. Like you're in a strip club and there's a song playing called Greatest Day. Add it to your playlist now and start listening to it every morning. It's so good, but it's just this, it's like, it reminds me of kind of like the effortless, fun, summer, cool vibes of like Spring Breakers in the beginning of the
No
movie,
Worries.
or like Clueless, or like just infinite fun and whatever. Even though she is like a stripper or whatever, but it's very like light and almost uplifting, and it's like, oh, this is
It is. Yeah.
like, where can we go? Airy and just like fun. Like, it's just very fun. And then there's just an immediate shift, and the middle portion is like a chase, like wild goose chase type of scenario. Like, a couple more characters are added, and it's like kind of slapsticky, like just very comedic mishaps. Like, just this whole chase and then the end happens where it's kind of like, you know, the next morning when the party's over and coming to terms with everything and what that entails. And it's just,
Is it
Fresh
like
out.
a little
really
bit of
good.
Romeo and Juliet-esque of like they're not like
kind
people...
of, but not. I mean, yeah, but no. Like it's
Okay.
Probably what Romeo and Juliet would really be like.
I
Depending
don't
on
want to
the-
ruin it for you, Clint, because you should really watch it.
No,
And
yeah,
You should.
no, definitely.
Everybody
Yeah.
should watch this one too. This
It was one where like she should have seen it coming, but you give people the benefit of the doubt and you find the best in people kind of thing. But like, yeah.
Well, my thought is like she was like, so this the entirety of the film is basically she is strong, she's powerful, and like, you know, like realistically, like she is utilizing,
She's doing her own thing.
yeah, she's utilizing her body, which is her tool to succeed in this world. And Mikey Madsen, man, she was so good. She used her body to do what she could to get ahead, and she was getting there. And I guess
If something's too good to be true, it probably is. Like, I feel like I took from this that like you should have trusted your gut, but you also have to live and like enjoy the ride, kind of.
but
I took from it that they were both, like, they weren't in love, but they
yeah,
were loving each other the only way that they knew how to love.
yeah,
She was loving him the way that she knew how to love, and that was transactional, and he was loving her the same way. That's what he knows. So it's like that is kind of my takeaway from the movie, without giving everything away.
correct. And that
It was something you need. Yeah, it was a lesson learned, and you know, but it's something you know.
I feel like lesson learned is not. I mean, like, yeah, obvious, but it was so like that last 15 minutes, I think, really brought it home. The last 15 minutes is what was like. It's like, again, it was the whole movie in a nutshell, but it was more realistic because
I ended up really liking that character.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was that last scene was just so tragic and powerful, and it's like it wrecked me. You know, it's one of those, like, it's like, dang, she did so good, and then here it is, and it's not like don't want to say lesson learned, because that's it is, and but they both did their thing. I'm just kind of talking in circles right now, but to not give away any spoilers, and I don't think
has to have a love like that in their life where it's like, you know, I don't know. You learn how to love differently after that, where you're like, oh, I can't just love people like that wasn't love. I guess is like that's why I keep saying lesson learned is it's they're so young, they're so naive, and she's just adamant like I love you, you know, and it's like, is this really love though? Do you really know each other? Do you know?
Right.
Clint did bring up like the Romeo and Juliet thing. Yeah, that the quickness of it, and the rant, the kamikaze version of it.
Well, it sounds like, you know, there's people trying to tear them apart, right? Like,
yes,
that aspect of it, you know, was kind of where I was going with that. But I do like the whole thought. I like to hear that. I'm a sucker for a 3-act movie, right? And,
yes.
And it's always, I actually, a lot of times I find myself, maybe this is just me being a shallower movie person, but it's like, if a movie doesn't follow that 3-act part, I'm almost disappointed nowadays, you know? And it's like, come on, where's kind of that flow, right? And it almost sounds like this movie just hits right on that.
It does, but it's a different type of a 3 acts than you're used to, where it's like I mean, I guess it's not. It's just ramped up, maybe. You know, where you have that.
Well, all of the parts are just they're cohesive, but like they're so clearly like this part of the story, this like, without having to say like part 1, part 2, part 3. Like, it's like, oh yeah, this has totally shifted.
It almost sounds like, and I can think of a few
runtime, so it's not that bad. It's 2 hours and 19 minutes.
Oh,
it's not.
It almost feels like
1, 2, and 3. It seems like it's super long, but it's not.
It feels like some of those movies that I've seen that it the way you're describing it, it's like almost three unique movies, or you could almost think like there was 3 directors in this, right? Like I think of like some of these where, you know, Tarantino and Rodriguez and all that, like will do like the different parts of it, and they're they're totally different, right?
Yeah.
That's almost how this is kind of sounding anyway.
And a follow up on that is like, again, Conclave. I'd recommend Conclave to anybody because they would enjoy it. This one, I wouldn't recommend it to everybody. You've got to be invested in the movie because it's different. It's not an easy watch. It's tough.
It's so good though. It's so
good.
now.
It's an easy watch. I think it could have been a blockbuster. Like it's not what you typically think of an Oscar movie where it's like afterwards you have to stop and dig into, you know, like Mother was one where it's like, what did I watch? You know, like what are the hidden messages? I know, but when it's not a hard watch in that sense, it's a hard watch in the subject matter, I think. In that sense, but I don't think it's a hard watch in like, oh, this subtle hint at this and that. This is very much in your face and you know what's going on.
Well, I am going to
twists.
I am going to mark this down as a movie that I need to go watch. Here.
If you only watch one of them, I would watch Anora.
I really want to watch The Substance, so that's the one that I think I want to go watch at this point.
Which one?
You got The Substance.
Oh yeah, Substance too.
All right.
Here's the thing. One more before you don't stop yet, because the one movie that I think got robbed this year is Challengers, because Challengers, in my opinion, is the best out of all of these, and you won't watch that one because but Challengers is awesome. Challengers was incredible.
Well, here's the thing: if we continue to talk about these movies, I'm going to have to put an intermission in this podcast. So. So anyway, that brings us to the tail end of this. We have went through all of these different movies that have been nominated for Best Picture. That brings us to everybody needs to go around the table. What's going to get Best Picture? And I know that you're torn between some of these, but you got to plant your flags. So, Chad, I'm going to ask you first. What's Best Picture?
In my opinion, I think that both the one I want to win and the one that should win is Anora.
Okay. Kayla?
Based on the nominations, I don't know what they're going to do. Like, I feel like it's obvious that the Amelia movie, they're really, really digging on that. I loved Anora, The Substance, and Wicked. So I'm going to go with Wicked, I think, but
is that what you want? Or is that what you think?
That's what I don't know.
Or both?
I don't know. I really want Anora to win because it was an original. You know what I mean?
So you got to pick one. Which one are you going with?
I want Anora, but I think Wicked just because of the cult following.
All right. Erica?
I want The Substance to win Best Picture, and I think it will be a travesty if it doesn't, but I won't be mad if Anora wins. I would like either Anora or The Substance, just because I think there's not so much The Substance, but Anora is like so 2020s, like to me, like, and I want a movie to win Best Picture. That's like, it's not just like a forgotten about, like, you know, Conclave or something could win it, but it's like, well, that could have been in 2005. Tom Hanks could have been in it, or this guy could have been in it at this point. But like that movie is so Mikey, like it's perfect and it's now, and I would like for it to win. But I would just have to say overall The Substance. It's so good.
All right. Well, I'm going to plant my flag. I'm just going to play the odds. I figured there's one guy on this list that has two movies on here, which is Timothy Chalamet. So I'm going to go with Dune 2. Like Dune 2 is just going to go in there and get Best Picture. So
I respect it.
Yeah.
The Brutalist gets nothing.
Longest run time.
Yeah, longest run time. All right.
No, I don't want to disrespect it. It was a nice film.
All right. Well, you heard it here first, folks. That's what we're all going with. So write it down, and we'll see who gets bragging rights after this. So
Erica, March 2nd, I'll see you here like 5:00. That's when the red carpet starts. Clint's invited too, but he'll never come.
No, I'm going to be in. Anyway, I won't
Yeah.
I definitely won't be there. So
Yeah. See?
all right. With that, the credits are rolling.
The lights are coming on.
And that's the end of the show.